Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as usual, let's go over the market. Let's talk about what happened. Fairly flat-ish day for the most part today. We did go down actually a decent amount of, I guess, but then we ended up going back up, ending the day. Market closing in about 3 minutes, ending the day down about 1%, we'll say, putting us at about 127-ish dollars per share. So let's talk about it. Let's see what happened, and is this, has anything new formed, anything interesting, anything important, and all that good stuff as usual. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button if you find these videos useful, informative, helpful, whatever. And of course, none of this is financial advice. Make your own decisions and do your own research. So all that being said and done, ladies and gentlemen, Tesla, yeah, pretty, more or less happening what I, essentially said, right? How I personally said yesterday, I believe that the cup and handle potentially will be forming here. And that's kind of what we're potentially seeing right here. So we have the cup right here. And here you can see we essentially have the handle actually being formed as we speak, right? So we'll see if this actually comes to fruition and this actually plays out the way you would want it to, I guess. And important to note is the fact that SPY is actually bouncing at arguably exactly where it needed to bounce. And so is Tesla actually. So if you put this on the SPY, you can see it's bouncing exactly off the 0.5, which is, very, very, very kind of, pretty okay, like normal, I guess, if you will, place to bounce, right? Tesla did something similar this morning as well, where if you put the Fibonacci on Tesla once again from the swing low, in this case to pretty much what is the swing high. We didn't get right to it, but you can see we got pretty close to it. We came down to 124. The Fibonacci was at 123. So we're about $1 off, but pretty damn close, right, to bounce off the 0.382 level as well, which is, a pretty strong bounce if we get it off of there. It could go as low as 120, though I don't think we'll go there. If we do bounce, it should be right around here. And that's kind of what we are seeing at the moment. Now, on top of that, I did talk about yesterday how I, essentially said that we are in this ascending little wedge up here, which we did also bounce off the bottom part of the wedge, right? I had this line drawn from yesterday before we even came down to this level right here. All right, and we bounced pretty much exactly off of it, which is why when we got to around this level right here, I did end up selling a put. Again, if I'm forced to buy, that's okay. I'm buying at a price I'm pretty okay buying it anyways. It'll be 110. And if it rallies from here, cool, make some money on that as well as a trade, of course. And then, of course, I have the shares and whatnot on top of it, right? But that's kind of the main thing I'm seeing as of right now. If you go over to, let's say, the 4-hour chart, you can see, we, of course, like I said yesterday, we have two lines, the main lines that we're like kind of focusing on, right? The first one being the blue and the second one being the yellow, where you can essentially argue which one is the true, downtrend line, right? They both touch this part right here, but this one starts from here and is actually a little bit higher above where we are currently, while the blue line starts all the way back at the 300s, also touches this one, and then is pretty much touching more or less where we are right now, and is, arguably acting as a current resistance, right? For sure, as you can see, we kind of touched it today as well. We're also pretty much right below the 21 EMA that is kind of, holding us at bay as of right now. So that is definitely something else to consider. So we're in quite an interesting situation. We'll see what this actually ends up forming into, because right now it's hard to say where it'll go for sure. But again, I'll give you guys the important levels to understand what to look out for to determine potentially, where what needs to happen essentially in order for like that option, if you will, to unlock much more confidently, right? So let's talk about the bearish aspect First and foremost, most obvious one is, of course, falling southward of this channel, right? If we fall back down out of this channel and especially start breaking back under 123, I would say those are the two main things to watch out for. That would be a little bit bearish, and that would not be something that the bulls want to see. Unless, of course, we come down very quickly to 122, maybe gap fill, and then bounce right back up pretty fast. But it would have to happen pretty aggressively, right? This bounce would, to recoup that drop would have to happen, pretty fast, let's just say that, and pretty aggressively, I would say. On top of that, for the bears, potentially a bearish RSI or bearish divergence RSI over here is starting to form. You can see we did make a lower low in our RSI. The thing that's confusing though is we did just make a higher high, then we made a lower low. So it's kind of like, it feels like a tug of war in all honesty as of right now between the bears and the bulls. But we did make a bearish RSI divergence on today's movements when we came down to about that 124-ish level. So something to note there as well. That is pretty important to understand. But that essentially is the more or less the main thing I'll be paying attention to as a bear. And of course, trying to stay under that 21 EMA as much as possible over here as well would be very, very... Ooh, and Netflix apparently just reported their earnings. Oh, nice, it's going up. Yeah, so that's something to consider, guys. But yeah, all that being said and done, let's go over what the bulls want to see next, right? What do the bulls want to see? So the bulls essentially want to see kind of the opposite, if you will. So they want to see a rally back above this 21 email, which is currently sitting at pretty much the high of the day, which is around that kind of 129, 130 level. Definitely want to see a rally back above that. That would be very, very important to see and very, very nice to see, right? We also want to see as a bull a rally above the blue line and ideally even the yellow line. That would be very, very nice to see. And of course, you also want to see this cup and handle play out, which we're currently essentially forming the handle, which you can argue is essentially more or less a bull flag. And that's essentially what the bulls want to see. They want to see rallies and breaks essentially above those levels. So it's hard to say for sure which one is going to happen. If I had to take a guess, a prediction, if you will, as to what I personally think will happen, I personally think this is going to happen. I'll just draw it out, just kind of what I'm predicting. Again, could be completely wrong, just an absolute prediction. But if I had to take a guess here based on what I'm personally seeing and what I foresee, it'll be something along the lines of this. So we're sitting around this kind of, so we'd actually just closed 127.12, right, down pretty much 3%. I personally wouldn't be surprised if we rally back up like this, get up to somewhere around here, pretty much maybe make like a double top-ish. We'll see. Most likely get rejected by the yellow line. Bulls get baited by the cup and handle. And from there, we essentially reject, fall back down out of this right here, fall back down, maybe come back to retest, and then ultimately come down somewhere around to maybe make double bottom, potentially even go slightly lower, maybe down into the just under 100s, right? However, with that being said and done, I also believe that if, in theory, that were to happen, of course, all in theory, right, as usual. Let me go ahead and delete this. If what I just said ends up playing out the way I said it, what I personally think will also happen that will be very good for the bulls on a longer time frame to truly change direction and trend is that if we do come down to make either double bottom or even a lower low, so let's say we come down to all the way to 90, maybe even lower, right, as an example, the RSI would set up a beautiful bullish divergence. So this right here, where we were all the way down at this kind of 16.5 level on the RSI, was when we were pretty much at like 101, right? Roughly, or something like that. If we go down to, let's say, 101 again, or even lower, I personally think, and I'd be genuinely shocked if it doesn't happen, the RSI will probably drop down to somewhere like around here, right? We'll make a very obvious higher low, while the stock is making either double bottom or a lower low, which of course is a beautiful sign of a bullish divergence. And I think it'll be a very big and obvious bullish divergence. And I think from there, the low will be in, and we will of course also finally get a trend change as we start finally breaking out of this yellow line. So in other words, I personally believe we would go something like this, and then finally rally. That is what I foresee. Again, doesn't have to happen. Could be completely wrong. Who knows for sure? But like I said, the main thing you want to watch out for, at least for now, for like the short to maybe even medium term, are those levels rather that I just mentioned, which will kind of dictate potentially what the next, maybe even few weeks will more or less have in store for us and for Tesla as well. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing as of right now, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, the pre-market is pretty healthy because Netflix completely crushed earnings, apparently, up about 9%, which is fantastic. Good for Netflix, of course, though the stock has been just beaten to hell. Though it actually did recover. It's actually not anywhere near as beaten to hell as it was. Yeah, down here when it fell, man, that was insane. I was actually thinking of buying here, but I'm just too much of a Tesla simp, I'll be honest. Though I personally like Netflix. I do like Netflix. I actually think Netflix is not that bad at all. But yeah, so we'll see what happens with this overall situation here for Netflix. But, so far it is pushing us up in pre-market. So far it seems like what I said, can potentially play out where we get a nice rally back up to maybe 140, 137, 140. Get rejected by the yellow line, finally touch it, and then most likely make our way back down, arguably even as low as back to 100, if not even lower. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. That is what I'm seeing as of right now. Let me know what you think down below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. And of course, as usual, see you guys tomorrow. Peace.